Hello and welcome to podcast.init, the podcast about Python and the people who make it great. You can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Stitcher, or TuneIn Radio, or you can add our RSS feed to your favorite podcast app. You can follow us on Twitter or Google+, and please give us feedback. You can leave a review on iTunes, send us a tweet, send us an email, or leave us a message on Google+. To be notified of new episodes, show extras, and new projects from the host, you can sign up for our mailing list. We are recording today on July 27th, 2015, and your hosts as usual are Tobias, Macey, and Patti. Today we are interviewing Liza Avramenko about CheckIO. Liza, could you please introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, my name is Liza, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of CheckIO.
So how did you get introduced to Python or introduced to its ecosystem?
Basically, I got to know about Python from my co-founder, Alex. He's actually the guy who started CheckIO, and he's the one who introduced me to Python. Many people ask why CheckIO is all about Python, and the simple answer is because Alex knew it, because Alex liked it. And this is how I got introduced to it.
So for anybody not familiar with CheckIO and what it is, can you explain it?
Basically, CheckIO is the platform where people from all over the world come to solve coding puzzles. And after solving them, the system tests your solution. And if it passes, you can post your solution online to the global community. And this is when the magic actually happens, because people from different parts of the world can see your solution and take different parts of creativity that you came up with and learn something new for themselves. So basically, CheckIO has become the platform where coders from all over the world exchange their coding experience around coding missions, puzzles, and challenges.
And what was the inspiration for creating the CheckIO platform?
Believe it or not, boredom. And Alex, my co-founder, he was so bored working in a bank. And when you are a good developer, you always strive to learn something new. So Alex was actually so bored in a bank that he wanted to see how people in the world, coders, can solve exactly the same coding challenges and see different solutions from different people. And this is basically when he started this project in 2010. It was a very simple design. He simply wanted to share his coding experiences with the rest of the world.
And what is the goal with the platform?
The goal with the platform is to become the global community for not only Python language, but for the most popular coding languages in the world, and to keep our vision of keeping the platform, as I said, like being open, being very supportive, and keeping the community of the most talented as well as the beginning coders, so that people of different levels could come to CheckIO, learn something new, become a little bit better, or if they are top-notch talent already, simply share their coding experience. And believe me, I see quite a lot of people who are very happy teaching others, not only learning something new, but basically spreading their knowledge.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing that I've found while working in engineering is that if there's one thing developers love to share and love to do is teaching other people useful tricks or different ways of solving a problem, because it's one of the things that is the most enjoyable part, at least for me, about programming is just the process of discovery and learning, oh, hey, I could have saved a few for loops if I did it this way instead, or different ways of architecting a problem and how that can change the way that you think about both the task that you're working on and oftentimes the way that you view the world itself and how it operates. So it's great to have that platform and that forum for people to have that collaboration and share their knowledge, and particularly in the context of having a specific problem that's being solved that everybody can approach in different ways and provide feedback to others.
Yeah, exactly. As you said, I totally agree with you. It's basic formula, having the same missions for everybody, be solving the same challenges, but having people with different backgrounds. This is what makes it interesting. There are engineers from different parts of the world. There are engineers from different industries, chemical engineers, bioengineers, like different people who bring very interesting solutions to CheckIO and share them with other people. This is really great.
How do you deal with the question of ownership and licensing in CheckIO? Was this a tricky hurdle to get past in the site's creation?
That's actually an interesting question. In the beginning of building the platform, we got one user asking us to delete his solution because after he solved and clicked the button publish, he didn't realize that his solution will go into the open world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was a bit of a challenge probably for him, but not for us. We totally understood him. We deleted his solution, but after that we added terms and agreement, basically saying that CheckIO is an open platform and it's a place for people to share their code and knowledge. We are not using any of the algorithms. We are not selling any data to any companies. So this is just simply a condition of playing at CheckIO is that you're willing to share your code. You're open to post your solutions to the rest of the world.
Right. That makes perfect sense. I can easily see where people might be confused off the bat if that wasn't explicitly made clear. But I can also see where that idea of code sharing, you guys were just discussing it, is really critical to the goal of helping everyone improve their own skills and helping others improve their skills as part of the process. Very cool. Thank you.
Yep.
So going back to the topic of community, growing a new community can be very difficult because of the chicken and egg problem of needing to have people involved in order for it to be an appealing place for other people to go to, and needing to have it be an appealing place for people to go to get other people involved. And I'm just wondering what sort of methods you guys use to kickstart the community and the growth of the community to solve that problem.
CheckIO is a very complex project. It's very complex technically. It has, on top of being technically complex, it also has a layer of gamification and it also has a layer of community. But community was always number one priority for us. And from the whole beginning, we were always focusing on building very supportive, very friendly, and very open community. So I would say it started off organically with us. I remember when we launched CheckIO in 2012, the website that you see actually right now, we had a very simple button, live chat, which was very popular probably at that time. And all the team stayed for a month or maybe even more, like 24 hours. We tried to substitute each other. We were talking with the community. We were helping. We were dealing with bugs, problems. We were also helping people who were stuck in their coding challenges. But that was a really great experience. After that, the community started growing on its own because people got so attracted to this openness that we were very, I would say, explicit about from the whole beginning. We wanted CheckIO always to be a community for people to share their coding experiences. So this explicitity about what we want to be helped us to attract really talented and great people. And the more great, friendly, and supportive people you have in your community, believe it or not, the less work you need to do. So we stopped spending 24 hours at live support chat, and community became a very huge support to us. And later on, we started talking with Gvida. Gvida, you probably know him. He was the second big push for us of, I would say, building the community at CheckIO. Python has the most incredible community in the world. Python community consists basically of people who are extremely supportive of each other. And we were lucky in the beginning, as I said, that Alex picked up Python as the language to use at CheckIO. But also we were lucky that this language has the best community. So when we started talking with Gvida, he was not only helping us, with his advice of how to build particular features or helping us doing reviews for different users, But also he was given really great advices about how to build community, that sometimes, you need to be strict, that you need to be very sharp at cutting rude people, at cutting down people, who are trying to be not appropriate. So
Abusive.
that, exactly. So his help was incredible in that.
That's really interesting to hear that you had Guido as an advisor on how to build and foster that community, because as anyone who has ever used Python can attest, he's definitely done an excellent job of fostering that for the Python community as a whole, growing it from a language that he was tinkering with as a means of teaching people how to code, and then growing into this massive ecosystem of libraries and people and organizations that it is today. And I know that he's actually provided feedback on a number of different problems and conversations on the platform and critiquing people's solutions, and wondering if you've got any feedback about his experience in interacting with users and providing that insight.
I think he's incredible in terms of not only creating the language, but also in terms of building the community. And I always think about the name of the language, where it came from. It all comes from particular humor, good attitude, friendliness, openness. I love it. I love it.
How does diversity play into CheckIO? Are there aspects of the site's design that are purposefully meant to attract a diverse audience?
CheckIO was always, I would say, at CheckIO we were always targeting people with basic coding experience. And one of our biggest challenges, as I mentioned before, when we launched the website in 2012, we were staying at live chat, and the majority of questions were there. I'm a total newbie, and why you don't teach people how to code? It's such a beautiful website. It looks like an amazing game. Why you don't teach me how to code?
Right.
So I would say that it was the biggest challenge for us that we were not diverse enough. We were always trying to bring people of different levels of knowledge. We were always including people from different geographics by doing PR in different countries. And it means a lot, believe it or not, but different countries have different cultures of writing code. So that was intentional, that, we were including different communities at CheckIO. Diversity, as I said, for us was extremely important, but it was also a big challenge. And this is why it was one of the reasons why we decided to start building Empire of Code, at which we target not only people who know basics of coding, but also everybody who is interested in coding. You can start playing the game even without knowing how to code, but we want to drag you. We want to excite you about coding so much that after playing the game for a couple of days, weeks, or months, it depends on a player, you will be simply addicted to coding. This is what we want to build. But this is how we are solving this problem of CheckIO, of not being diverse enough, I would say.
It's a really good point. So in this case, we're talking about diversity of skill set levels, of skill levels, which I think makes a lot of sense given what CheckIO is. That's great. Thank you.
There are a number of other online programming-oriented games available. What makes CheckIO and Empire of Code stand out from them?
I would say, as I mentioned in the beginning, number one priority is the community. So you can see a lot of online catalogs with coding challenges, but they are more about gamification and about finding and identifying the best talent, ranking people, maybe even helping people find a job, which is amazing. It makes its job. But what makes CheckIO different is actually that we are about community. We are about being open, and we are about exchanging experience. This is why one problem of one coder who asked us to delete his solution, but it was one of the millions people who simply asked for it. The rest of the users, they are very happy to come to CheckIO and to solve coding puzzles and to see solutions of others. Pretty often, I hear people switching from other languages, like one of the guys who switched from Java, and he started playing CheckIO, of course, playing with Python. And he told me that he was solving one of the simplest coding missions for a couple of days. And I know that he's extremely talented coder. So I was really surprised. And it turned out that he didn't know that one of the modules, I forgot which one, exists in Python. So for a couple of days, he wrote the whole module himself. So when he saw the solution of other user, he was so happy. And this moment of happiness I see quite a lot when people, after solving some coding challenge for a couple of hours or days, after that they discover cool tricks or tips. This makes a huge difference for people.
Yeah, it's definitely a good point about people discovering all the batteries that are included with Python, particularly when coming from other languages, and not realizing that all of that ecosystem is available to them and readily accessible and provides so much power versus, like you said, the other gentleman coming from Java, where a lot of the Java standard libraries are still incredibly verbose and occasionally hard to handle and work with. So it's definitely interesting hearing other people's experiences of learning about those elements of Python from a site such as CheckIO and getting the feedback from the community for those aha moments.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're being very kind. You basically have to read the book, The Effective Java by Josh Block, in order to use Java standard libraries the way they were actually intended, because there's so much boilerplate and so much flexibility there. So that's definitely true. So how did you design the gamification aspects of CheckIO, and how important do you think they are to the site's success?
This is one of the biggest differences between CheckIO and Empire of Code. So when we were building CheckIO and when we were promoting it to people in all over the world, we were saying that CheckIO is the game for coders. And to tell the truth, to be honest with you, it was never a game. It was a gamified catalog of challenges, which, as you mentioned, there are a lot of competitors out there, a lot of other websites which are doing kind of similar things. So gamification was always for us crucial, but we had to stay true to ourselves and realize that we didn't build a game as it is. And this is why we decided, to start building Empire of Code, which is actually a game. So if CheckIO is the platform for community to exchange coding experience, solve coding missions, and talk about them, the Empire of Code is the next level of this coding experience. It's the game where you can... It's basically something like strategy, tactics, economics game where you code your way to victory, and you have to build one of the strongest bases in the space. It's a sci-fi game which takes place in the space, and you can go into the source code of almost each building. You can write improvement algorithms so that, for example, your gold factories produce gold 5 times faster, or the more efficient your algorithm, the more gold you're getting. And once you're getting quite a lot of gold, you can start buying army, basically your troops. So once you started buying your army, you can play around with the algorithms of how your troops behave themselves. And of course, you can then go to the war. So you can apply your algorithms and see how your troops are behaving in the real time. And after that, you can even start stealing the code. So this is the funnest part. When you attack other people, you can steal not only their gold and other resources, you can also steal algorithms. And through such a reverse engineering concept, we want to prove that learning how to code can be fun. As I mentioned before, we want to drag people into coding by, first of all, exciting them about a fun game. And once people are hooked up about playing this game, maybe somebody didn't even know, how to code. They simply started playing the game by moving buildings, making their base more stronger by tactical positions of their buildings on their base. But once they started attacking other users, they started stealing more and more algorithms. And then they started, taking a piece of this algorithm, combining it with another one, combining it with a third one, and they would get an amazing strategy. And of course, like people, while they're tinkering with something, they are learning a lot. And so I really hope that, this idea of reverse engineering will make miracle in the world of how people learn how to code.
That's really awesome. I mean, I think there are so many people that I've even talked to through the years who their entree to coding in general was games and gameplay, right? Like there was a guy that I worked with in my last job who got started coding because he ended up wanting to write World of Warcraft modifications. And I think that idea of wanting to take control of the game and make it behave the way you want is huge. And having a game that was designed with that idea baked into its very DNA is very cool and very, very novel. And I really look forward to giving it a try myself. I haven't done that yet. I definitely intend to this evening after the show.
That's awesome. And believe it or not, this is the feedback that I keep hearing from people from all over the world. Like, I started tinkering with this game. I wanted to write a bot, or I wanted to build my own game, or everything about people who started learning how to code always goes back to games. Either they wanted, as you say, take control of the game, or they want to build something new. It's always about having fun, playing something fun.
Absolutely.
Going back to what you were saying about being able to steal algorithms from players that you've defeated in Empire of Code, that's very innovative and not something that I've seen or heard of anywhere else. And it definitely seems like a really excellent way of getting exposed to new algorithms or new approaches to, again, solving the same sets of problems, because everybody in the game really has the same goals ultimately, but there are so many different ways that can be approached, particularly with building out some rudimentary or even advanced artificial intelligence for your different soldiers, and being able to obtain that code through that kind of interaction with other players, and then being able to assimilate that into your own strategies is just amazing, and a really great way of fostering collaboration, even if it's not necessarily intended. Being able to sort of steal other people's ideas from their implementations and improve your ability in the game as a result of that. That's just
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, for people who would go right now to the Empire of Code landing page, they would see that we are right now opening the game, but with both languages, with Python and JavaScript. And as you were just saying about being competitive, but in the same way being supportive of each other, maybe unintentionally, because everybody is having the same goal in the game. But we are launching the game with two languages. And once you've gone through tutorial, once you learned what the game is about and what are the main rules, you have to pick a side. Either you're with Python or you are with JavaScript. And this is this is non-reversible. So this is one-time choice that you have to make, and you are sticking with it. So the idea is that when you are joining the Python community, when you are joining a Python legion, let's say it like that, you will be fighting for the Python. And of course, people want, to be more supportive, because it's like Python versus JavaScript. Who is cooler? Who is stronger? So of course, your legion will be much more supportive. And you can always go on a mission with your Python friends. So you can go and train. So when I say train, it's basically attack other Python users, but you will not be stealing their resources. You will be only looking at their algorithms and, like sharing the strong weapons. In this case, strong weapons is algorithms. But when you decide to go on a real war mission, you will be attacking JavaScript users. And this is when, you will see how your algorithm behaves, where your troops go, how efficient they are. And the fun part I've noticed while talking already to some early adopters is that people are also excited about looking into algorithms of other languages. So even though somebody might pick a Python language, they are looking very much into an opportunity to see how JavaScript is solving exactly the same problems, and what are the tricks, what are the main instruments that JavaScript is basically like using in that case.
That's really amazing that you have the ability to do, as you said, those training runs with other people as a way to get acclimated to the game and learn the other people's techniques in order to educate yourself about, oh, maybe I can approach this problem in this other new way that I wasn't aware of before. Because there are some other games, there's one with JavaScript where the whole idea is to write a JavaScript AI to control a bot, where basically you write the different routines and then you set the bot loose and it does its thing. But from playing it didn't seem like there was any way to get that collaboration. And so it's kind of hard thinking in isolation about particularly an AI problem. How am I going to structure my conditionals in a way that it will actually be effective for this particular task? And having the ability to do that collaboratively, and then again, as you said, be able to view and steal other people's algorithmic implementations is amazing. And then going back to what you were saying about getting exposed to the same kinds of algorithms but in a different language is another excellent way of learning more about code in general and different ways of thinking about a problem, because JavaScript and Python have very different idioms about how to approach various problems, and getting that exposure can really broaden your horizons and your ability as an engineer. And I'm wondering if there is any ability or any plan in the future to be able to mix the different languages for, perhaps using JavaScript on one set of soldiers or Python on another set, to combine the effectiveness of the different languages and leverage their strengths where they're best used. And as a corollary to that, I'm wondering what your plans are for adding other languages to Empire of Code.
On the first question, it was actually one of the ideas that we are still thinking about. Given our users an ability, if you've stolen a really awesome JavaScript algorithm while you are a part of Python Legion, why not to give an opportunity for you to apply also this algorithm while you're attacking or while you're training? So it's on the roadmap and we are still discussing it. It might be a premium feature, so we'll think about it. But also, we want to add the majority of most popular languages out there in the world. I really like also Ruby language. As I mentioned before, Python has a great community. I would say Ruby has the second best community. And I would say that adding Java, Ruby, and a couple of other major languages to Empire of Code and CheckIO would be definitely a big step for us next. And the system is built in such a way that we initially, while we were architecting the website, we were planning on adding other languages. So it's a simple sandbox where you can build other interpreters to other languages, and we will have to do only on our end is to change our missions, to change those coding challenges, to change the source code of buildings, and that's it. And we will be all set for working with other languages.
So is there a particular demographic or set of demographics that you're targeting with Empire of Code versus CheckIO? And I'm wondering what the synergies are between the two platforms.
We are targeting people who are interested in coding. So this is who we target at Empire of Code. If in CheckIO we target people with basic or higher coding experience, at Empire we are opening our doors much wider. And we want these two websites to supplement each other. Basically, CheckIO will be a platform where people can come solve coding missions, and believe it or not, many of them will be the same as Empire of Code has. So people can come, solve, the system tests your solution, then you can see how others solved it, and then you can discuss them. So CheckIO was always about discussions and about people sharing something, their coding experiences. So at Empire, being strictly the fun game as it is, we will keep it more on a game side versus CheckIO being a platform for community.
And going back to, you briefly mentioned the possibility of combining languages as a potential premium feature. That sparked my curiosity about what sort of monetization scheme you have for both CheckIO and Empire of Code, and what your business model is around both of those platforms.
I would say the game that inspired us with Empire of Code is Clash of Clans and Boom Beach. Those are the two games from Supercell company. And we took quite a lot from there. Even if you launch and start playing Clash of Clans, you will see the same layout, you will see the same concept, of course, without coding element. The basic monetization that they are using, and it's been one of the most successfully proven in the world, is a free-to-play model where you pay money for speeding up processes. So, for example, if you cannot wait enough, you want to proceed with the game as fast as you can. Believe it or not, this anxiety of people who cannot wait is a huge driver. And thus, people are spending quite a lot of money on speeding up things. And having this internal currency, which can be spent not only on speeding things up, but also, for example, you can use it to purchase a shield. So, for example, you are total newbie. You started playing the game and you're so excited. You're playing the game, you're having the fun, you're still in the algorithms, but you're not having, because other people can also attack you, since it's going to be a multiplayer game. You will be losing your resources quite often, and you won't be able to accumulate enough resources to proceed with the game if you are not an experienced coder. So you have a couple of options. Either you have to speed up your learning curve and start learning to code as fast as you can, or you can purchase the shields that, will protect your base for a limited period of time while you're developing a defense algorithm or while you're accumulating particular number of resources.
I think that's a really great strategy, that the whole free-to-play idea, especially the angle of really making it such that there is a way to very easily not require the premium element, right? Like there are so many games where, okay, they're free to play, but in reality, in order to actually get any value from the game, you have to buy the premium content. I think that's a really smart way to do it, and I think it'll make people feel good about investing their time in Empire of Code.
Yeah, and this is, believe it or not, I always wanted to keep the game free and available to people all over the world. And this was always the pinpoint for me. And thus, when we were developing the monetization strategy for Empire of Code, we were looking at all the different options. And of course, pay to play is quite popular. The majority of games, you have to purchase them. But we are not a simple game. We were always about helping people in the world to become better coders, to see that coding is actually fun so that people can create more cool things with coding. Thus, this model of pay to play or even like premium, we dropped it in the beginning.
In CheckIO, how do you label the difficulty level of the individual puzzles? Is there a set of guidelines for that, or is it up to the puzzle writer or submitter?
We always trust our community. So basically, in the bottom of every challenge, there is an edit button where our users usually go and they rank our challenges. So we really rely on the community, on people telling us how elementary, how challenging, or how moderate the challenge is.
So, as Chris alluded to, part of the CheckIO platform is the ability for users to submit their own problems, and I'm wondering how much vetting is involved before those submissions are made available to everybody who uses the site.
That is a really good question. As I said in the beginning, community is very important for us and being open is very crucial for us. Another concept is quality content. We were always very peculiar about having the best coding missions at CheckIO. It's not a simple, set of boring math challenges. It's always life-related coding missions that help develop people their logic, their math, their coding skills. And in the bottom of every challenge, we always say, how this particular challenge can be applicable in real life. So every time when a user submits a coding mission, we simply pre-moderate it. So we help our users to build better challenges so that they can challenge their friends, families, mothers, grandmothers, etc. But this small pre-moderation is also very important for us.
So where do you see CheckIO and Empire of Code going in the future, and what are some potential new directions that you see your company moving in?
I would say that by the end of 2016, I want Empire of Code to be known as the funnest online game that blurs gaming and coding, that helps people to learn from others via reverse engineering or improve their coding skills by skill sharing. And I really hope that by that time we will be up to 4 million users, we will be self-sustaining, and we will have a really awesome team by that time. Awesome team in terms of the number. We need to grow our team. We are really growing really fast. Thus, we are really looking into building a team. And I would say in later future, in 5 maybe years, I want to see people saying, I was playing Empire of Code when I realized that coding is actually fun. Thus, I became an engineer. And maybe in 10 years, I want to see that we have the major coding languages at both platforms, CheckIO and Empire of Code, as well as I want to see, not only Empire of Code as this only game where we have integrated coding and gaming experience. Maybe in future it will be some kind of racing game where you have to write algorithms of the best logistics, or maybe it will be a fighting game, or whatever game it is, but we want to become this major game publisher that integrates coding and gaming experience and it at its fullest.
Those are some very ambitious goals, and I definitely hope that you achieve all of them, because I have greatly enjoyed using both CheckIO and the little bit of time that I've been able to spend on it, Empire of Code, and I really think that they're excellent platforms for people to, as we've said throughout the whole interview, both learn to code and learn new ways of coding and collaborate. So are there any questions that we haven't asked you that you think we should have, or anything that you'd like to add before we move to the picks?
No, I think we've had an amazing conversation. Great questions. That was really interesting to share everything with you guys.
All right. Well, with that, we will move to the picks, and I will go ahead and get us started. So for my first pick today, I'm going to choose JSON Web Tokens, because I was recently working on a project at my job where I needed to be able to have a centralized authentication for people being able to log into the main application and then use an API from a separate application as we move to more of a service-oriented architecture. And as I was evaluating some of the different options that were available, I eventually landed on JSON Web Tokens, and it just greatly simplifies that approach. And you can just create a JSON Web Token, sign it with a shared secret between the backends of the two apps, and then it can just be set as a cookie in the user's browser, and that can provide whatever authorization information is needed between the two apps. So I intend to write a blog post about that when I find time, but definitely worth taking a look at. My next pick is the Source Code Pro font, which is what I use when programming in Emacs, and it just is a really nicely done font. Makes it very easy to see all the different characters and punctuation that you use in programming. Just makes it really clear and easy to scan through your code. And for my next pick, there's a library called direnv, which is a Go package that you can install that will automatically source a .nvarc file in your project directories so that you don't always have to remember to do that manually. And just one less thing you have to worry about when you're developing. And for my last pick, I'm going to choose the movie Chappie, which I just watched last night. And it is a very well done movie that addresses some of the more human aspects of artificial intelligence and how we interact with it, and just some of our fears and stigmas that are associated with robotics and artificial intelligence. So definitely worth taking a look at. And Chris, why don't you share what you've got?
Excellent. So my first pick is an iOS game because, as I've said in the past, I think the iPad and iOS in general are a really great gaming platform. It's where I do most of my gaming these days, on the train or whatever. So the first pick that I have is a game called Prune. It's really kind of unique in that the gameplay is you are growing these trees, and in order to grow the trees in the way that's required, that's specified by the various puzzles, you have to prune the tree such that it will grow in the appropriate direction. I know that seems like an odd concept for a game, but it's really fun and very, very relaxing and very simple, very easy to pick up, just my perfect kind of brainless commute pastime. My next pick is something Python related. It is a blogging engine. I haven't quite switched my blog over to it yet, but I've been playing with it and working with it, and I've been totally impressed by virtually every aspect of it. It's called Nicola, and I really feel like these folks are doing a lot of great work. The documentation so far as I've seen, is top notch. It's written to be very extensible. It has a task-based engine as part of the build process, so you can extend that in any way you might see fit. It's a great project that I think I look forward to working with in the future. And my last pick is a drink pick. It's not a beer, but it is a cocktail that I just tried this last weekend for the first time and really enjoyed, called War Days Cocktail. It's kind of unique. It has a blend of ingredients that I'm not used to in cocktails: gin and green chartreuse and a few other things. And it's very tasty. Unlike most cocktails that I've tried with green chartreuse in it, it's not overwhelming. Usually when you get a drink with green chartreuse, all you taste is green chartreuse, but not in this case. It's a really good drink, and it takes a little bit of effort to make, but it's worth it in my mind. And that's it for me. Liza, what do you have for us for picks, if anything?
As for me, I would say the first pick would be probably Kiev. I have spent past couple of years in the United States, and I just came back to Ukraine, and I was extremely surprised how Kiev changed recently. It became an incredibly European city. I'm originally not from that city, so for me, not seeing the city for a long time, not being in the capital for a long time, it was a total new rediscovery. A lot of young people, a lot of things happening on every corner. And of course, probably there are some war disturbances happening in our country, but Kiev lives its own life. So it was great to discover that. And on the second note, I would say one of my discoveries was, maybe you already had it here on the podcast. It's becoming pretty hip, but I just decided to try it only recently. It's a bulletproof coffee. It's basically a coffee with a bunch of butter, and I love it, no matter how gross it sounds. And I advise all my friends to try it. It's amazing. It's like, a cappuccino with the best cream that you have ever tried. And of course, it's advised to try it more with butter and coconut oil. But to tell the truth, I'm simply blending it coffee with the butter, and it makes amazingly incredible breakfast food, I would say, not just a drink, but a food.
That's great. With regards to Kiev, it's kind of interesting. I, as a Westerner, have very little knowledge of that part of the world, but my company actually has a team in Kiev, and it's been very interesting to talk to people who live there and work there. It seems like there's a really thriving tech community there these days.
Yeah, and you've probably read the news, in what not only political bad situation Ukraine is, but also economically. Ukraine has one of the worst economies at this point, and it's like pre-default country. So it's very hard to invest money right now to totally reinvent all the equipment and factories and to change our industries. So one of the ideas of the government is actually to use the full potential of Ukraine, its technical potential. Ukraine has an incredible math school, extremely math heavy, I would say. So whenever you're learning physics, math, engineering, whatever it is, people are getting such a deep knowledge of math that they are later on becoming really talented engineers. And this is why I see, quite a lot of cases when I talk to my American friends that people are working a lot with Ukrainian outsourcing teams. And we want in Ukraine, to tell the truth, to make it one of our export points here. It's, as I said, we don't need to reinvent any new industries. All we need to do is to invite more people to play CheckIO, learn Python, and become talented coders so that the country can, provide, like, people already have computers. So this is all we need to do to create this amazingly talented community that can help build more new cool things in the world and bring more money to the budget.
So what you're saying is CheckIO and Empire Code are the solution to Kiev's future problems.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the show and talk to us about Empire of Code and CheckIO. And I definitely recommend anybody who is considering it to go check them out and play a few rounds of Empire of Code and solve a few problems on CheckIO. So for anybody who wants to keep in touch with you and follow what you and your company are up to, what would be the best way for them to do that?
My Twitter handle is AVRLIZA. So I'm always happy and open to answer any questions, help in any possible way that I can.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Tobias, thank you so much. It was really interesting to talk with you.